wrestling savior, the one, JT Dunn. And if you're on YouTube, you want wrestling information, you want to see some stuff, Dre 41 YouTube, the exclusive spot right here, the JT Dunn.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Drake41, aka Mr. 4K, aka Drake41. Welcome to another episode of Drake41's Wrestling Podcast, where we talk about wrestling, we talk about gaming, we talk about wrestling games, and all sorts of stuff in between. On today's episode, we have a special guest. We have Uke's game design supervisor, Bryan Williams, as we talk about a lot of things, wrestling, more wrestling, and a little bit of wrestling in between. So let's get straight to it.
Because I interviewed with WWE for a position in Stanford.
Yep.
And it's funny, like had they, presented me with an offer, I probably was going to take it.
Oh,
so
wait a minute. It was going to be
neighbors.
So it would have been for like the gaming department, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I would have. It's for a creative producer role within the games division.
Oh, okay. So what, they just hit you up out of the blue?
No, I contacted them.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, I contacted them. I'm glad it didn't happen because this all happened before I made contact with AEW. So things happen for a reason.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And that's a good. So when did that happen? Like, so in between the time you hit them up from AEW getting in contact with you.
So it was 2018, September or October, but it was like I had just finished up my DLC commitments on 2K19, and by that point, like, we felt like we knew that this was our last game in February. So I figured, okay, and I knew that was coming eventually. Even when I was at 2K, I knew that that's what they wanted to do eventually, is get to a point where they bring everything in house. So I wasn't surprised at all, and I was like, okay, well, let me finish up, the work on 19, and then once I was done with that, I just got my resume together, and it took about a week to do that because I hadn't touched that in freaking years. and then once it was all set, I just went to the WWE corporate site, and they have a job listing page there, and there was a role for a creative producer in their games division, and I'm like reading all the bullet points. I'm like, dude, this is me. So check,
Yeah.
So they were the first person I applied to, and went on 3 interviews, and then my first interview was October. Talked with them until I guess December, and then nothing. They never got back to me, and that was December of 2018, and then by January AEW was announced, and then that February is when I contacted them. So
Oh, okay. So
everything was very serendipitous.
So when you decided to contact them, was it when they first announced, or when Kenny Omega was like, oh, I wanted to make sure we have a game, a console game out? Did that get the wheel spinning? Like, what? Let me try to see what they trying to do here, because I know like Kenny Omega was trying to get Aki, and I don't think Aki even makes like wrestling game. They don't make wrestling games anymore. So it was like, was that the wheel, like that was the inspiration to say, you know what? I mean, hey, we got something. We got years of experience. Let's try to hit them up.
Yeah, it basically boiled down to. I'm a fan of Omega. I've been a fan of the Bucks and Cody and all that. So I've been following them on the Indies in New Japan. And it wasn't a secret. I mean, Kenny's infatuation and love for gaming was pretty much well known. So I knew that he'd be into the idea of a game. But ultimately, what got me to I didn't seriously. I thought about reaching out to him when they first announced, when they had that first pep rally in Jacksonville. I was like, okay, this is interesting, and kind of I got to know Tony Khan, not personally, but I did my research on Tony Khan, because prior to that I wasn't aware of him, but him and his father being owners of the Jaguars, was like, oh, okay, this is real money. These guys are serious,
Mm-hmm.
And it got the wheels turning, but it wasn't until February is when the idea, the ball really, went over my head, where I'm like, okay, look, we're good at developing wrestling games. We're not developing one right now. And I just had a very strong hunch in my gut that this company, the AEW, was for real, that they weren't going to be some, fly-by-night promotion that talks big and ultimately, doesn't do anything, which, pro wrestling landscape is littered with cats like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I knew they were different. And basically just based off my gut, I reached out to Hiromi, my boss, because she spends her time in Japan. And, she wasn't aware of AEW. They had just announced, like a month prior. So
yeah,
she had no idea what was going on. So I emailed her about AEW, what they were doing, who was involved, that Chris Jericho was there, and the ownership, and just explained to her that, hey, this is I think it's going to be a really big thing. And I just wanted her permission to see if it would be okay if I could reach out to see if they had interest in potentially having a game developed for them.
Okay.
And I wanted to check with her first because I didn't know, just to make sure that there wasn't anything in any contract that we had signed, once we separated from 2K that would prevent us from working on another wrestling title. And she told me that, no, we can develop anything that we want. So if you want to reach out to them, by all means, go ahead. Oh. And so once I got her approval, I did. And this came about in February when they had that second rally in Vegas. And they introduced Best Friends. Chuck Taylor and Trent. And Trent and I go way back. And like once Trent signed with them, I was like, oh, this is my in. Because he's a friend.
Yeah.
I've known him since like 2008. And I think it was like the day after that pep rally, maybe like 2 days after. But I sent Trent a text message and just said, "Hey, brother, hope you're doing well. Congrats on the signing." And I was like, "Look, Ukes, we're no longer doing the WWE video game, so we're free and clear to develop, anything." And I just kind of asked him if he thought that there'd be any interest in AEW potentially getting a game developed in the future, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Kenny and those guys, they talk about that shit all the time." So I was like, great. And I asked him, like, if you could put me in contact with anyone, that would be great, man. I really appreciate it. So he told me, like, okay, hold on 1 second. So a couple of minutes went by, and he hit me back up with Dana Massey, who is Matt Jackson's wife.
Yep.
And she runs their merchandising department. So he gave me her email, and that same day, I sent Dana, Miss Massey, an email. I introduced myself, who I work with, who I work for, what we do, and basically to say, hey, if there's any interest from your side on maybe getting the game kickstarted or developed in the near future, we'd be more than happy to assist you in that. And she got back to me like an hour later, and she said, "Oh, we're very interested." And this all happened like within this. It was like a Tuesday. All this was happening.
Wow.
And from Trent giving me the contact information to emailing Dana to Dana getting back, and quickly we scheduled a meeting for that Friday.
Wow.
And it was essentially just a getting to know each other meeting. And again, I mentioned how serendipitous this whole thing was because like I said, my boss Hiromi, she spends a majority of her time in Japan, but it just so happened that this same week was one of the weeks she was visiting our LA office. So she was going to be arriving Thursday night.
Oh, wow.
Just in time for that Friday meeting. So, we got that set up, and I told her, emailed Hiromi, said, hey, I made first contact. And like Hiromi was CC'd on every email that I sent, to AEW back and forth.
Yep.
So she was aware, and so they wanted to meet with us Friday. I told them, I said, hey, Hiromi should be in town, but let me just check with her to see if she'll be available. So I'm scrambling around, trying to make sure, the timing works and everything. And it did. She got into the office, that Thursday, or into LA Thursday night, and by Friday afternoon, we were on our first teleconference meeting with AEW. It was myself and Hiromi, and on their side, it was Cody Rhodes, Brandy Rhodes, Dana was on that call, and Nick Sovic, who was one of their vice presidents in licensing.
Okay.
And that kickstarted everything. And like I said, it was basically just getting an introductory meeting, getting to know everyone, and kind of just a high level meeting, laying the groundwork for the type of game that they were interested in making. Obviously I knew No Mercy was going to come up, and it did. And it was at that meeting that Kenny wasn't on the first meeting, but Cody was talking to me about just the type of game. He was like, well, what do you think, want to make? And, I said, yeah, I know you guys are big fans of No Mercy. I'm a big fan of Here Comes the Pain. It's one of our games that we've done that a lot of fans love. And just, I think if we could kind of merge the sensibilities of both, that would be the best of both worlds. And he was like, yeah, that sounds great. And then the original, like this, in that first meeting, he had explained to me that, he really wasn't, that they weren't interested in taking a sim-like approach to the models. So that was something that was established from day one, because he was, Cody was like, yeah, we just, not to say that they wanted them to be, overly cartoony, but that they wanted to be a little more artistic with how the character models looked. It was like, look, the WWE games, like they have that sim appearance, covered, and we just really would like to do something different. So that kind of, that initial meeting really did set the tone for everything that would follow.
Okay.
But that's how we got the ball, the ball rolling, and it was like I was the primary point of contact with AEW for all of last year, meeting with them, on my own. Essentially, like it was like I was convincing. I was in a position where I was trying to sell us, Ukes, to them, while at the same time trying to sell Hiromi on AEW, because, again, she has been in the business long enough and has been working with the WWE for a long time, so obviously she knows that they're solid.
Yeah.
They're a company that's not going anywhere. But she was taking a much more of a wait and see with them.
Yeah.
And again, obviously, and like I said, this is February going into March. Like they hadn't run a show. This is before Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
They hadn't put on anything. I'm doing all of this just based off of, my gut and my my gut that this company was gonna stick and that they were gonna be successful. So it's been a long time, man, coming.
Yeah.
I flew to Chicago for All Out last year. I attended the show. I was with some buddies of mine, but I was there for work, to attend the show and to meet with another AEW exec, Chris Harrington. He set some time aside for me the day after the show. He met me in my hotel, and we discussed things further about more about what it, like, realistically, in terms of scope, what we could do within certain development cycles and this, that, and the other. So it was all, and this is all new to me. I'm a game designer. I'm just used to being in a mocap studio and writing designs. This whole thing of business development, which is essentially what I was doing, was brand new to me, and I was just kind of learning as I went. But it was an exciting year, with its ups and downs. Things definitely weren't. I was my hope was that by the end of 2019, we'd be in a position where we could announce that we were going to be doing their game. But this kind of thing takes a while, and everything. Patience is a virtue, is what I've learned this year. So yeah, it's just been a whirlwind. And as crappy as 2020 has been, just for the world, it was nice to find out that, one, we got the green light to develop, which I found out a month after my birthday, so that was cool.
Oh, that's what's up.
Romy called me from Japan and put me on speaker with the team in Yokohama. And at first I thought I was in trouble, like I had done something wrong. So I'm like, because my coworker Derek, he's an American, but he lives in Japan and works for the company. He sent me a message. He was like, "Hey, Hiromi wants to she wants to talk to you later tonight. So we're gonna call you. She's gonna call you around 6. And I'm like, what I do? And he was like, no, it's just it's just about work. I don't think it's anything too serious. And so I was like sweating. And then she gave me a call. And then I could tell there was like a whole bunch of people in the room, and she was like, "Bryan, son, we signed, we did it, we're moving forward." And I was like, "What?" And I was just losing my shit. I was so happy. I was so happy. So like I said, this was July of this year, and then fast forward to the 10th of November when we were able, AEW had they had that announcement,
Yep.
Announcing our game. As well as the 2 mobile games that they have in development. So, yeah, man, it's been a wild ride. I'm just happy that I can finally talk about it.
Yeah.
It's been such a hard secret to keep.
And that's the thing. It was like, for me, looking from the outside looking in, I was just like, Ukes has to be doing something. I'm like, and this is what the community, like, I would think the community thinks this in general. I don't want to speak for them. But we all have an understanding that Ukes is like the top developer for a wrestling game. And like, they're not saying nothing. And so it's like, in my mind, I'm like, there's no, like, there has to be something going. I'm like, in my head, it's like, if it's not even an AEW game, I'm thinking like, is it like maybe something like New Japan or something to where it's like a generic wrestling game, just so you guys have something coming out. Like, in my mind, and I think in the community's mind, we were just like, something has to be going on, because we did see that Kenny followed the developers, the Aki developers, but I think they're called something completely different now. The name escapes me, but it was just like
Sensopia.
Yeah, Sensopia. So we were just like, what are they doing? And it's like, for me, I was just like, should I hit you up and see? Like, I was sitting there thinking like, you guys got to be okay. Was there okay? If AEW didn't come through, was there something else already in the plans, or were you looking up to do something different, or what were the plans?
Well, I mean, we did have, or we were thinking of doing potentially something else.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't a, if this doesn't happen, we have this.
Yeah.
It was, we were just doing something concurrently, working towards getting AEW
Mm-hmm.
signed off on, but at the same time, our Osaka team were working on a potential, another wrestling game.
Okay.
Don't want to say, what that was.
Okay.
And honestly, I still don't even know if we are moving forward with that one, but
okay.
That was my focus, and my main thing was just on AEW. And this thing was really special to me. One, just as a fan,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be one of the guys that was helping out with that first game. But I also did it. It was like my own self-interest, because I'm like, if I'm not doing this at this company, like, I don't know where I fit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I started. That's why I reached and I interviewed, or I submitted an application to WWE, because I wasn't hearing anything from my boss, from my superiors, my supervisors, about what my future would be with the company if we were no longer doing the WWE game.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm kind of a one-trick pony in that regard, where it's like I do wrestling, and if we're not doing that, I got nervous about whether or not I get cut.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, Hiromi told me, she was like, "Look, you have a job with us for as long as you want one."
Mm-hmm.
So that made me feel good. Mm-hmm. But I still kept applying for stuff, just in case. I mean, I like I said, like, 2019 was a long year, mm-hmm. and there were times where I got frustrated just for the slowness of it, because I wasn't doing, like, this was my job last year. Like,
yeah,
this was the first year, and like, since I got in this industry, working on the WWE series, where I had a year where I was not actively developing or working towards a game.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I mean, I basically spent the entirety of 2019 doing biz dev, trying to get AEW off the ground. And there were times where, weeks where I was busy, where I had meetings, and I'm, putting, these documents together, and, and pitch decks and all this, which was great. Like I said, things that I really hadn't done before, so I was able to develop those new skills.
Mm-hmm.
But then there would be lulls where months, 2 months at a time, where there just wasn't anything really happening. And it was during those times where I did my best to keep myself busy, where I just kind of told myself, look, I just have to, if I really want this, I kind of did some secret shit. I'm like, if I want this to move forward, I have to act as if this thing is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I just started writing design documents for the game in the hopes that, when that green light comes, mm-hmm. we'll be prepared and ready with some designs that we can, get started on, and started developing and, curating reference material. Mm-hmm. Soon as Double or Nothing happened in 2019, for moves, for entrances, for victories, for attires, I was just creating, videos of all that stuff. I mean, I've got, and I do it to this day. I'm actually glad that we're doing that. We're having this podcast as early as we are.
Right.
So I needed to get up early just so I could watch Dark and collect material from that. So what I basically do is I collect material every Dynamite, every pay-per-view, every episode of Dark. I watch and I pull reference for everything. I've got in our file sharing system that we use for our documents and everything, I think I've curated 12,000 video files of footage.
Damn.
Since last year.
That's wild.
So yeah, I just kept myself busy. But where was I going with this? But I got to a point where I was getting a little tired of waiting.
Yeah.
So I went out and I applied for a job with Marvel for their games group.
Oh wow.
Another creative producer role. And then the crazy thing about this is that this happened this year. So I applied to them in January of 2020. Like I said, I was just getting a little tired of waiting. I'm like, man, I just want something to, I feel.
You want to be busy.
What's that?
You wanted to be busy.
I wanted to be busy, and I really just wanted to elevate my professional career.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I had plateaued. It's like, look, I just need to do better. Mm-hmm. So I saw, just much like the WWE job listing, I saw what Marvel was looking for, and obviously, wrestling is my number one love. Mm-hmm. But prior to wrestling being number one, comic books occupied that slot, specifically Marvel. So when I went to their site and I saw that they were looking for a producer to work with their games division, it was essentially the same job that I applied for in WWE, except instead of it being wrestling, it's with the Marvel IP, mm-hmm. and I'd be working with the developers to ensure authenticity, reviewing scripts to make sure that things are of quality, are being true, faithful to the characters, that sort of thing. And so I applied in January. They got back to me, and I went on 4 interviews with them.
Wow.
These were the longest interviews of my life. So the first one was a phone call. Uh-huh. That lasted like an hour, and it was a very good call. Mm-hmm. And then they brought me in 3 more times for in-person interviews. Mm-hmm. And they lasted, the first in-person that I did, I was there for 2.5 hours.
Sheesh.
The third in-person, I was there for 3 hours.
Damn.
And then the final one, I was there for 2. And I'm meeting everybody. I'm basically in a room, and everybody was super nice, super friendly. I got to meet the whole team. Mm-hmm. And this was March. So here's the crazy. So this was March, right before the pandemic and the lockdowns happened. Mm-hmm. I get word that from Marvel that it had basically gotten down to me and this other applicant. They chose to go with the other applicant. So I didn't get the job, but they thanked me, all the stuff that, these companies do when you didn't get the job. Yeah, we'll consider you possibly for something in the future. Da, da, da. I was like, yeah, that's fine. But I'm glad, again, everything happens for a reason. Because that was literally weeks before the pandemic, the lockdown. Who knows what would have happened had they given me that job, or, given me an offer and I took it. I don't know what's going on with them. I'm sure they're fine, but you know what they say, last hired, first fired. So I don't know if because of the pandemic, I would have, lost my job once I got it or what. But I'm glad I didn't ultimately. And with the pandemic and everything, working for Ukes, for a Japanese company, they're very loyal to you. So I knew that I was safe. Like
Yeah.
my job was safe in a time where I know a lot of people uh, lost their jobs. So I was very thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the Lord, God had my back, and I'm like I said, things happen for a reason, and I'm just so glad that I stayed true to what I really wanted to do, which was this AEW project.
Okay. So basically, I mean, you were the more or less anchor between AEW and Ukes this whole deal then.
Yes, I'll say, I was one that started this whole train moving, and I got both sides together. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was the one that, like I said, I was the primary that point of contact for many months, before once things really got more serious. And then it was like, okay, then by that point, that was like towards the end of last year,
Yeah.
and it was almost like once I helped bring our parties that much closer together, and things got more serious in terms of more business talks. It was almost like Hiromi got more invested by this point, and lawyers got involved on both sides to kind of work out details. And it was almost like I was like a relay runner, where I'm like, okay, boom, we did it. I pass it off to you now, Hiromi, and then they got the all the upper management execs on both sides involved to kind of work out the finer points of all the details and the contracts and all that, and here we are.
Wow. That's crazy, man. Because like I said, from the outside, it was just like it was just too quiet. It's like we're seeing all these other game developers come out. They're having wrestling games that they're coming out with, and it was just like, where is Ukes in the middle of all this? Like this is wild. Like everybody's saying they're coming out with the game, they're working on the game, and it was just like in my head, it's just like you guys are up to something. Like you guys are up to I don't know what, but I just had the thought in my head like let me just wait. Let me just wait and see. And I could tell you this, when I first seen the trailer for the gameplay, and I have this on live stream, so I can't nobody say I'm stunting on this one. When I first seen it, it surprised me. Now it surprised me in a good way, and it also surprised me in an alternate way. And what I mean by that is it was like we have been let's say programmed to look at wrestling games from one aspect and that's it. And I feel like it was because we only had one option for so long. So when I first seen it, I was like, oh, okay, so it has a more of an arcade look or like a cartoon, so but not like 100% cartoon look, but it has like an alternative reality sort of look to it. And I'm saying to myself, I've played wrestling games like this before. Like when Kenny Omega said, he wanted something more like No Mercy or Virtual Pro Wrestling. I'm like, this is like No Mercy or Virtual Pro Wrestling updated by 10. So to me, it didn't bother me because I understood even if it's like not an in-game engine that the trailer was based on, if it was just a video itself, the gameplay looked fluid enough to where it's like even though it doesn't have to look like a competitor's wrestling game within itself, it plays like it. And if it plays well enough, nobody really should be worried about how it necessarily looks because if it's a AAA developer, it's gonna look good regardless. And then you got enough games out that's not even wrestling, but games that look great but play terribly. And I spoke about that many times on stream and really tried to convey the message of let's see what they're going to do. Like in my mind, and I feel like a lot of other people's minds, Ukes is the top developer for wrestling games. So there shouldn't be a question of why does it look like that because I feel like you guys know what you're doing. Now, if it was a new developer and they were just like, this is what we're gonna start with, it'd be like, whoa, guys, wait a minute here. Like you don't have a track record, but Ukes has a track record, and I feel like people are questioning that. How do you? I mean, I'm pretty sure you've seen some of the responses to it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I got a lot of. I've read a lot of responses. I had old coworkers from THQ hit me up, and they were also a little surprised by the look of the models, and I understand that. I mean, we've been doing, I mean, I think it just goes down to, like you said. I mean, we've been doing the WWE game for so long, and I think people are just used to wrestling games looking the one way. Because I mean, the WWE series was the only wrestling game, on the block for how many years? I mean, of course, you had your, the years where you had, the TNA game come out or the AAA game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was for consistency. It was like the WWE was there every year. It had that, realistic, photorealistic sim look to it, and that was that was like the standard for what a wrestling game was supposed to look like. And so I think I was not surprised by the reaction that I heard from fans, because I'm sure they weren't expecting what they saw.
Yeah.
And all I can say is that, and as I mentioned earlier, I mean, this was something that Cody had said from day one.
Yep.
That they did not want to do a photorealistic interpretation of the wrestlers. They wanted to be a little bit more stylistic with it and kind of get more hyper realistic, and that's kind of the approach that we're taking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, but I understand, I mean, I know some people kind of equate. I mean, maybe they do. I'm kind of guessing on this, but I think some wrestling fans equate the sim look to maybe being more of the what am I trying to say? That if it looks sim and photorealistic, like that's the quote unquote serious wrestling game. That's the premier type of wrestling game, because it looks real. There's no liberties taken with the art style. And I think a lot of wrestling fans kind of have that in their mind. So when they see a wrestling game that takes a different artistic style apart from that photorealistic one, I think maybe in their minds they think it's going to be lesser than. So I can understand that. But like you said, I mean, have faith and trust in us as a developer who has been doing this consistently for 20 some odd years. We know what we're doing. And yes, I mean, look, if fans out there, if you're not into the art style, of course, that's you're right not to like it. That's more than fine. But trust me when I say that the gameplay and the overall experience will make up for any misgivings one might have about how the character models look. Because we're that damn good at what we do. And honestly, I mean, we are very, very early in development. So although we're not, I don't think, and I'm not going to say because things could change. I don't think they will. But I'm sure the models are constantly being tweaked and worked on. We're nowhere near like at our final version of how the models look. So yeah, I mean, it's just just give us I think they'll grow on you, hopefully, and if not, I know the gameplay will capture everyone's attention.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess that's my take on it.
Okay. So for me, also even with that, when Kenny Omega was talking about what type of wrestling game that he wants for AEW, we spoke about it a little bit about the No Mercy virtual pro wrestling. Even though it is early in development, was that something that was conveyed, like, and you did say that also you wanted to implement possibly something or some aspects from Here Comes the Pain. Has there been a set gameplay style set in stone right now, or is it still something that's being worked on?
Still being worked on.
Okay.
The whole thing about, and like I said, from day one we knew that whatever game that was going to be made, whether it was by us or another developer that they would have maybe reached out to. For them, like, they just wanted whatever game that they were going to make for consoles to be inspired by No Mercy. They wanted that same kind of feel.
Okay.
So we knew that from day one. And so yeah, I mean, so that is our goal, to be inspired by No Mercy. Not to say that it's going to be we're not gonna. Well, actually, I probably shouldn't read too much into it, but yeah, that is what it is we're striving to do and to try to be, is that modern day version of those classic games from yesteryear. The No Mercies, and like I said, Here Comes the Pain.
Okay.
Just fast, fluid, hard hitting gameplay, the variety and depth of the moves, accessibility. Those are all key things that we are working to do. In addition to, we've got a lot of cool new things that fans can expect gameplay wise. So like I said, we're being inspired by those older games, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of brand new concepts and ideas in this game that, to my knowledge, will be a couple of things that'll be a first for a wrestling game. So really excited about that stuff as well.
All right, so that's definitely a good thing, because the one thing for us, and once again from the outside looking in, we have been getting more or less the same thing, and I feel like it's because you guys more or less been kind of stuck under the thumb of this is the direction we want to go, as opposed to what do you guys want to add to it. And I think it's like a sigh of relief that I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys have more of from an in-game creative wrestling moves, wrestling modes in the game. Y'all have more freedom to possibly add things that you think would make the game better.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so essentially, so I get you're referring to our relationship with the 2K in that regard, I imagine.
Yes.
And so the way that it worked, and even with THQ, of which I was a part, like I've been on both sides.
Yeah.
Um, the way the relationship worked between Ukes and THQ, Ukes and 2K, is that they are a paid for hire. You know what I mean? Like they are paid to develop the game, led by the creative direction of the publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's THQ. During those days, Corey Ledesma, shout out to Corey, I love that dude. He was like one of the first guys to actually reach out and congratulate me on the announcement. So haven't worked with Corey in a long time, but we still keep in contact, and I love that guy to death. But yeah, so Corey, he was in charge and led the creative direction during the THQ years.
Mm-hmm.
And had its hits, its misses. I mean, there were games that we did that I think a lot of fans liked.
Mm-hmm.
I know there were some that even I will admit, I'll readily admit, some of the clunkers that we did. And even those, it was like, hey, if they didn't hit, that was because of the creative direction that was set forth by us on the publishing side. Not to say that Ukes never offered or was able to add their ideas into the mix.
Yeah.
In fact, like during the THQ years, it was a very good working relationship where we would take just as many of their ideas as we would provide our ideas to them. So it was I would say it was probably more harmonious.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And so the same thing, obviously when 2K took over, it was the same edict where the creative directors at 2K on their side, they set forth the creative for every year's version of the game, and it was up to us to develop it and to kind of follow in their creative vision.
Yeah.
And so I was with 2K for that 1 year where we did 2K15.
Yeah.
That was the only year that I spent working for them on the publishing side, and then after that, I was with Ukes developing, from the developer side. So we always would present ideas to them and stuff, but again, ultimately, it's their say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even saying it as a negative, because like I said, I mean, it's the same situation that we worked under with when I was at THQ.
Yeah.
But to go back to your point, is that now that we yes, we have more freedom, more creative freedom, which I think I even alluded to. Like I've been teasing this, for like the past year, like with some of the tweets that I've been putting out.
Yeah.
But no, we definitely have far more creative freedom now than we had under the THQ regime or the 2K regime or side of things. And obviously, we are working hand in hand with AEW. I mean, Kenny Omega is very hands-on.
Yeah. With
creative. So, essentially, yeah, we have more creative. They, give us their creative input, but it's a completely different situation. So, yeah, this is the long way to answer your question, but yes, we have far more creative freedom and leeway to do and make the game that we want to make, as opposed to past years.
Okay. And you know what? That's a sigh of relief because for me, I always felt like Yuke's earlier work really showcased the creativity of the development team. Just about even with like the type of game modes, the type of moves. It seemed like as your as Yuke's relationship with the WWE moved forward, it seemed like less and less creativity was put into the product. It just seemed like a copy and paste, and it was just like, wait a minute, we had this mode, what happened? Or we had these moves, what happened? Or like certain game modes that were in the game for so long and just out of the blue, they're gone, they're missing. So for me, I I felt like with it being a new wrestling company that they would trust in the abilities of, once again, the top wrestling game developers and their ideas of what makes a great wrestling game. Um, but also with that, there's also a feel to like the Ukes games. Um, is this going to feel like a Ukes game? And what I mean by that is the engine. Are we getting a new engine, or is this going to be um, an updated version of what you guys already have, or can you guys even use it because of the 2K game? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, so I can't get too into the weeds on this,
Okay.
but what I can say is that another reason why I was uh, so gung ho about getting this game off the ground is that I knew that by doing so, we'd be able to start from scratch.
Okay.
So this is a brand new engine that we're going to be using.
Okay.
So I'm just really stoked about that. I know the entire team is. It's like, because we finally just get to, but like I said, I mean, I just want fans to consider this. I mean, look, it was like two chapters. We had the WWE years.
Mm-hmm.
That chapter is closed with us, and now we are starting this brand new chapter with this, one of the hottest wrestling companies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, one of the best wrestling developers in the world, and we are finally able to start a new wrestling project from scratch, taking all the years and all the lessons that we've learned, from our past experience developing the WWE series. We can take that into account with this new game that we're developing, and it's just nice to not be encumbered with a lot of that past, the past tech, the past engine. Um, so it's nice being able to build something brand new and lay that foundation from the ground up. So, yeah, no, it's a new engine that we're going to be developing for this game.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, with that being said, we also seen, and I'm bringing this up because I looked this stuff over. I was
Yeah.
making sure I was all set for this one. Kenny Omega also said that he likes the animation style of No Mercy, virtual pro wrestling. And this might be too early to even answer, or if you can, will it be animated moves or will it be mocapped?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can answer that.
If you can't, then it's okay.
Yeah, I gotta be careful because I don't want
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
I
want to
understand.
say something I'm not supposed to. And I think just by me pausing, I probably
Well, no, there's
I won't answer that one just yet.
okay.
But ask me again later.
Okay. I got you. I got you.
Ask me within maybe the next couple of months. I'll feel more comfortable providing that answer.
All right, cool. So, what I also wanted to do, and I'm pretty sure you've seen this on Twitter where I tagged you, and I wanted to get some questions from the community, just so they can feel like they're a part of it because these are fans who really felt like we needed something new, like we really did, like to be completely honest, like I was, because I'm be honest, I don't play 2K20, like I literally only still play 2K19. Like that's that and Fire Pro, and I stick to old wrestling games. Like that's where I'm at right now. So I feel like the community is a bit tired of what we have right now, and they're really interested in different aspects of this game. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer all of them. And I told them
Yeah, I saw some of the questions that were asked, and yeah, I will do my best to
yeah,
provide answers. But yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of things that I won't be able to.
yeah,
At least right now.
yeah,
Again, like I said, we're so early, and we're going to be And I say we, Ukes, AEW Games, we'll be sharing more information as soon as we're able to. But
Yeah.
I will do my best to answer and provide as good answers as I can today.
Okay, no, it's cool. Like I said, I said this also in the video where guys, don't expect all these answers. I mean, these questions to have answers. Like like this is happening 8 days after they announced the game. So we get what we can get. So don't go too crazy. Just guys, we got to be patient. But the first question.
And I hate to cut you off, but I do also want to say because you mentioned the community, like the community is a big part of this.
Mhm.
Like I feel, although I feel like I'm just as much a part of the community as I think as everyone else is. I mean, I know I'm on the inside,
Mhm.
but if I wasn't in my position, I'd be a part of this community. So I'm doing this as much as I'm doing it for me and for us as a company. I'm doing this for the community, for the fans, for all those people that reached out and just the excitement that they showed towards this project. We want to make a game that is that's just going to kick a whole bunch of ass, and a game that's going to keep everyone playing continuously, and just bring back that love and that excitement and that passion of the pro wrestling video game with something fresh and something new. And just would not be able. I mean, much like AEW wouldn't be in existence without the fans. I mean, the same thing is with us. You guys, the fans, the community has kept Ukes going on the wrestling side of things for years, and we're giving back. We're gonna give back in a big way.
Okay, and you know what? And that's I also have my own questions, but I'll save that for last about implementing the community and making sure that the game, does live on. And and just one thing, even before this, right?
Yeah.
This is one thing I want to say. This game, or this partnership with AEW and Ukes. I just want to let this be known: the community does not need a yearly release. We do not need a yearly release. Just something that's great and something that you guys add on to. And then when there's enough changes or updates to AEW where it needs a new game or I mean we don't decide it, but I know, but it's just like based upon what we just gotten, we're kind of tired of the yearly releases. Like that's just one thing. It's like if there's a need for it, then I can understand that. But I think like looking like before anything happens, it's like as long as we get something great that we can play. Because if you think about it, right now we're playing the game that came out in 2018. So that says more than enough right there. Even though there is something new that came out. So yeah, that's just my little thing with it. So the first question that we have was from at Brandon Orango one. I can't say his last name right. Shout outs to him. That's my homie. Is there a career mode or something similar to it? Because he kind of likes the THQ WWE games with the multiple storylines, branching storylines. I think depending on your choice. Is there anything we can talk about that, or is it too early?
It's too early to get into specifics about about modes. What's in, what's out. All I can say is that the game will have the modes that it should, that fans, and it'll have the modes that it should, and the modes that fans expect to be in there.
Okay.
That's about as much as I can say.
Okay. This is a feature question, and maybe this is an easier question to answer than probably the other ones that are on here. This is from Josh Cook 580. Will there be blood in this game? Will there be blood in this game? Will people get color?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Did you see that bunkhouse match? Did you see poor
Yes.
Blade
Yes.
bleeding like a stuck pig?
Listen. This is
yes,
what I was
there will
talking
be blood.
about. Okay, cool. Oh, and you know what? Just to add on to that question, right? We had some wrestling games in the past where blood used to get on the mat. Will we see that?
Yeah, I think that was one of our games.
Yes.
Good at that.
Yeah.
I think now, I think, in the year 2020, and honestly,
Hmm.
in the years since, I mean, if a character's bleeding and their blood is dripping on the surface, I think it just stands to reason that that blood should remain on that surface.
Yes.
So yeah.
Okay. Um. Here's a good question, and this one is something that even I was going to ask as well. This was from Superior One Spike. Shout out, that's my homie too. Just curious, how would create a wrestler mainly face morphing work? Sculpting like in Skyrim, Fallout, or UFC 4 just doesn't work for me. Something like the old UFC game face or WWE's upload system seems to be the way to go. Can we expect something like that or better?
So I'm not familiar with those the face morphing systems. And what were the games he was referencing in was it UFC
UFC,
and
Skyrim. Uh,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
could say for Skyrim, the face morphing isn't that great. UFC 4 isn't that good either. The old UFC game face, I think that was EA. You can upload, just basically like WWE games, you can upload a face texture and
Gotcha.
morph it accordingly. So I think it's more along the lines of will we get that feature? Because I mean, we kind of got complacent with that to where that helps the creators create the best cause possible. Is that something that was talked about? Is it a feature that can possibly be in the game?
Yeah, possibly it can. It's funny that we were talking about Create a Superstar. I just had a meeting with the team in Yokohama. I gotta say, Matt, since this pandemic, like I have never used Skype as much this year in my life. It's like I'm on this thing like every other day.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I met with the team. What's today? On Monday,
Yeah.
I had a meeting with the Create Mode team, and I can't. Yeah, again, I can't really say too much because again, we're still at that stage where we are trying to formulate, the depth of how deep we want, the creator wrestler to be, and what we can do realistically within the time that we have. So I, again, I can't. I'm not. I don't want to hedge.
Yeah.
All I can say is that I know how important this mode is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really do. I mean, me and you became friends because of Create a Superstar.
Yeah.
Me finding out your work and me singing your praises back in the days on that community board where I'd have to pick like the call of the week or whatever. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy Dre 41 wins again. So
You got me heat because of that. I'm just gonna put that out there.
oh shit, did I? Well, I
No,
did.
it's fine though. It got my name out there, but people hated me for that. Oh my good, but it's fine.
And I didn't even. And the thing is, I didn't even know you. All I knew was I just kept seeing, your like created by is Dre again. Damn, this guy, this guy prolific.
Yeah.
But all that goes to say is that I know how important creative wrestler is, and it's my like I was expressing to the team on Monday, um, that this is a mode that it's a mode that we're known for.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of fans, other diehard fans, the fans that have supported us throughout the years, and especially the fans of AEW, which I think tend to be a little more diehard as well. I was just expressing that this mode needs to be. I mean, to say top of the line is just a given, but it's got to be deep, and we've got to have a similar type of depth that they're used to from us.
Mm-hmm.
So again, without getting into specifics about every individual like customization option,
Yeah.
it's important to me because I know that it's important to you guys, and I am involved. Like I'm involved in a lot of areas of the game. I'm involved in like all areas of the game.
Yeah.
But the gameplay and the create modes are, as you know, just from my past years of working on the WWE series, these are two areas that are very, very, very important to me. So I am doing and working towards creating and having a creator wrestler mode that is hopefully one of the best that we've done as a company.
Mm-hmm. So
that is my goal
yes.
To achieve. And like I said, I mean everything depends on time, how much time we have to do it. Because obviously, at the same time, it's hard to compare this whatever we do in create mode wise, like create a wrestler for this. I also want to not temper fans' expectations, but know that what we did in 2K19, like that was years and years and years and years and years of iteration
Yes.
upon iteration that got that mode to where it was. So again, a lot of lessons learned doing that, and just we're gonna do is what we can to bring you all of that, all of the wealth of options and everything that you had in this AEW game. And I can assure you that what doesn't get in initially will get there eventually.
Okay. And
I know this is important. It's very, very important. Honestly, like my Twitter timeline is largely filled with people who are sharing their created characters from 2K19, yourself included, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I expressed that to the team in Yokohama. I was like, look, you guys are you guys don't realize how good you are at this and what this means to the fans. And I was showing them. I was like, look, these are just guys on my timeline and to see the work that they're making. It's like, this is important.
Yeah.
We cannot skimp when it comes to this. Like, we've set a standard for ourselves that the fans expect. So, so that's all I'll say on that. But
Okay.
yeah.
And I think that kind of also goes into another question that was also submitted here by what's the status. Also asked because in 19 and also the last game that we got, who name shall be remain nameless. Are we? Is there still a plan on being able to edit in-game wrestlers? Would that updated attires? That's something that's big as well too, especially when they have pay-per-view matches. Have different attires, different entrance gear, things like that, or change their gimmick up completely. Is it a possibility that that's something that we can get?
Yeah. So this is the thing that I know is very important to a lot of the fans. It's really important to me. I can't provide a straight answer right now because there really is no answer yet to give. We have discussed this with AEW, but we have not yet come to any sort of conclusion on it. I'm for it. I think it's important, especially if we are telling players that this game is going to be modeled after, inspired by a game like No Mercy.
Yes.
That functionality was in No Mercy. So that's kind of what I'm using as my ammunition to try to get this in.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But it is a thing that, like I said, I would love to have this feature in. It's and I'm going to work with AEW, work with the team to see if we can make this a reality.
Okay. All right. Cool. We're just gonna do a couple of more questions, then we're gonna get into a little bit of because I want to get your opinions on like wrestling now, especially with like the product AEW and how you feel about that. So I want to ask you a couple more questions, maybe about like 3 or 4, and then we'll go into that. But
Okay.
we have Mark Out Digital Wrestling. I actually interviewed him. He's actually working on an independent wrestling game at Spot Callers.
Yeah. I know him.
Shannon.
Shannon.
Yep. That's my guy. Yeah.
What's up, Shannon?
He gonna pop for that one. How big is the development? How big is the team developing the game right now?
Yeah, so this is a tricky question because obviously I'm stateside, and I haven't been to Japan since 2019. For obvious reasons. So the people that I interact with, so the way that it works, like when like I said, I met with the Create Mode team on Monday. Like the guys that I meet with the department heads. So it's hard for me. I don't know the full count of the actual like implementers, the number of developers that we have currently in Yokohama. And also knowing how we are early in development, I know that I'm sure that whatever the size number is now, which I can't even hazard a guess because, like I said, I don't really know. But I would imagine that we have not yet fully ramped up because I know that what generally happens is that whenever a new project gets into development, what will happen is you start out like you kind of create your initial base team for pre-production to kind of get the ball rolling. Essentially, the department heads that I'm speaking of, and these are guys that I've known for freaking years. Back during my THQ days, my time at 2K, and obviously now that I'm an employee of Ukes, the team largely consists of guys who were working on the WWE series, the same create mode team, the same gameplay team. So that's great. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the overall number, I don't exactly know that. So yeah, okay. Not sure.
All right, good enough. I mean, hey, if you're not there, how can you know?
But like I was saying, what happens is I never got to my point. But like what happens is that so we start with the initial crew. Mm-hmm. And then once things get actively get into actual development, I know that what happens is that Hiromi, like my boss, she will then pull other designers from other projects that we're developing, either projects that are wrapping up or are in various states of development. They'll start to pull other programmers, artists from different projects, and then add to the larger AEW team. That's typically how it works. And then from there, we're like fully staffed and ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah. But I know, like on the WWE game, there were, when we were like in full development mode, like right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
The team was probably about maybe like 100. I would say anywhere like between 90 and 100 members of the team, and that, like I said, including the artists, the programmers, designers, mm-hmm. The creative leads, QA, and then of course there's outsourcers that we use mm-hmm. To create, for model creation, for whatever kind of assets that we might need that we can't cover. We use an outsourcing team to kind of help with that. So
okay,
yeah, I expect the team to grow within the next couple of months substantially.
Okay, all right. Now this is an easy one, and this was from Big Righteous at Big Righteous. Are we gonna have create a moveset? I'm pretty sure that's an easy question.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay. Of course.
All right,
come on, Big Righteous, man. You know me and the movesets.
Listen, that's my guy too. So, and that's the thing too. Like having just a plethora of. Listen, I was just playing, SmackDown 2 Know Your Role. I was just playing Here Comes the Pain and Shut Your Mouth, and literally how the moves in that game to where like you can make anybody's like people who never even wrestled in that company, like, and they don't even have to be in WWE. Like I created Keiji Muto, and they literally had 7 different Shining Wizards, like his own signature drop kick, his own figure 4 where he taunts with it, like just stuff like that. And that's just another thing, just on my end, where it's just like as long as I can create the Great Muta and have a Great Muta entrance, wink wink, but I think because Righteous, he's the moveset guy. Like I'm pretty sure like the community can all agree on that because he's in a lot of projects as far as like create a wrestler. Like he's the moveset guy, he gets that done. So I think that's also another important thing is making sure that when the wrestler runs at somebody, they just don't do a tornado DDT. That's or a running STO. Because I don't know. I mean, it's for me, it's kind of like with some of the movesets, I feel like the a good portion of moves were taken away to where it kind of taken away from the character of the wrestler. Where it's like, they can do more than that. Like, whenever I create a wrestler, and this is me running off a little bit, but I would go based upon their all-time moveset. Everything that they can do. So I would go through a bunch of videos, and people don't understand how difficult it is being a call creator. They think it's just face morphing, make the attires, upload some logos, and there you go. It's hours.
It's a lot of research.
Yes.
It's a lot of research.
And it's like, you wouldn't believe the amount of pictures we have to take, reference photos. We got to scour the internet, Google, their Instagram. Like, we got to go all out to make these wrestlers. And not even only that, we got to watch multiple matches. Sometimes you can go on YouTube and find the top 50 moves, and that's great. That makes our job a lot easier. But other times when it's not a so well known wrestler or somebody you can't find one video for all their moves, we gotta watch hours of video to develop a move set. So I think that's really important. I do.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. Like I do that same. I did the move sets, the default move sets in 2K19. I did everybody,
Mhm.
and whether people liked what I did or not, the work that you just described is exactly what I did to formulate those move sets.
And
You
but
know,
see, that's
I look. Oh, go ahead.
oh sorry, sorry for interrupting. But it's like even that I feel like because there was so much like I'm pretty sure, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like with you, it's like you want as much as you can to make the game the best it can be. And I feel like sometimes you weren't able to get that, so you had to work with what you can. And that's completely understandable. But I feel like now, I feel like once these move sets are done, it will be 10 times better because you have well, you guys on the Ukes end have more, I guess, creative control of what moves. And I'm pretty sure AEW is not going to say, no, don't put that move in the game. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no, just the opposite, in fact. And Kenny, he is very, very particular when it comes to moves as well, because he sits in our he's part of our creative meetings, and that's one thing that I've learned about him is that he really does care about the details,
Mm-hmm.
of a move's performance. I mean, he's an artist, with his actual wrestling and like just how he perceives wrestling, and for him, like, yeah, I've loved to hear his feedback when it comes to that, because I'm like, okay, this guy, yeah, Kenny's dope. Like he gets it. He because everything you're talking about, those little flourishes that kind of make a move distinctly, that wrestlers,
Mm-hmm.
whether like his personality comes through or whatever. Like Kenny cares about that kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, so I think everybody, you'll be well covered, because I know that Kenny is not going to allow anything generic or anything not to feel like it belongs on that character, that it's done in a certain way or the right way.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm excited about it. I really am. I'm actually working on getting moves together for the top priority members of the roster. That's what I've been working on the past couple of
Oh,
days.
and you know what? Here's a funny one. You might laugh when you hear this one. So how we gonna get the Orange Cassidy move sets in the game?
The same way that we get everybody else's in. I'm looking forward to not actually I cannot confirm or deny. We haven't really talked about the roster yet.
Okay, you're right. You're right. Let's not go too
Yeah,
far.
so I don't want anybody to get excited, but I'm a big fan of Orange Cassidy, and yeah, I have a lot of ideas. Should he make it into the game, how he could play, and I think it'd be very cool, because he's a character that is especially a wrestler where it's like you've got to get his personality down, and
Yes.
because I mean, that is his character. It's
Mm-hmm.
such a huge part of what he does in the ring. So I'm excited to hopefully get him in the game and to work on not just his moveset, but just on his character behavior and how he fights. I think that's going to be a fun thing to hopefully implement into the game at some point.
Yeah. Oh, and also, have you dabbled in the Fire Pro Wrestling at all?
Oh yeah, I play Fire Pro all the time.
Okay, so like with
The
the
recent one,
yes,
the
Fire Pro Wrestling World.
World, yeah.
Yep. So with the creator wrestler in that, you could really like dictate with each wrestler you create what type of moves they'll do, their favorites, something that they'll perform in the match. Has there been any conversations in regards to that and implementing that in the AEW game? So when we see, let's say, someone likes to do high risk maneuvers, even though they're a bigger athlete, that they'll perform those in the ring. Like, you could set those as favorites or change their favorites. Any talks like that has been happening?
So you're more or less referring to like the AI logic, right? That
Yes,
kind
the
of
logic.
dictates.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan of that, man. I was pushing to get that into the WWE series
Mhm.
towards like the very end, and it never happened.
Yeah.
But no, that's one of the things that I love about Fire Pro is just that level of detail that you can get in there, where it's like you can dictate like the frequency of of taunts. Of how often did this guy show off to the crowd, or how often did this guy do moves off the top rope, avalanche style, or like you said, high risk moves. I'm a big fan of that level of detail.
Okay.
And this honestly, I don't believe it's come up, but yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because it is something that I love to see added into the game. So hopefully I can make that happen.
All right.
But yeah, you're not alone in liking that feature about Fire Pro. I dig it too.
All right, cool. And I'll leave this last one for about the game, and then we'll go on to actual wrestling. We'll get one more question. So let me see. I want to get something good, maybe something I feel like we can get an answer. Oh, here we go. Limitations on uploads for community creations. Now, I have been preaching to the choir that we no longer need a limit. It should go based upon, we should be able to download as much creations that our hard drive is able to fit. Will there be any limitations on uploading? And I know this is early, but has there been talks on any limitations on downloading and uploading cross-platform, online? Utilizing custom arenas online, things of that nature.
Yeah. So cannot talk about that right now at all. You're right. You're right. You are definitely right. That is a very good question.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where I can't divulge or discuss that at the moment.
Okay.
Only just to say is that going back to our whole discussion with how important creator wrestler is. I know that part of it is. It's part and parcel with the whole experience. Mm-hmm. So I know that that's an important element to you guys as well. That's all I can say.
Okay.
But it's heard, and the importance of this is noted, and just stay tuned.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, that was fun. So let's get into a little bit of AEW, right? And here is a little bit of a controversial question that I have. And it's funny because I was talking to one of my friends about this. But what do you think about Dark Order? How you think they've been doing?
All right, so here's the thing. Like, I like the Dark Order.
Okay.
And like even when they first debuted, it definitely it was like okay, like the presentation of their presentation really wasn't the best. But just as wrestlers, like, I don't know. I don't know if people were familiar with them prior to this Dark Order thing. But like, they were Smash Brothers.
Player 1, Player 1, Player 2, Player Dos,
And so for me, just as fans of theirs, because I saw them in PWG for years, like I just think both Stu Grayson and Uno are just like fantastic wrestlers. Mm-hmm. So the gimmick aside, like in the ring, they handle business. And the gimmick itself, like I know. What was it? It was the final episode of Dynamite of 2019 where the Dark Order just attacked all the members of the Elite, and like everybody was up in arms about how bad of an angle it was. And I watched it, and I was like, well, I wouldn't have done that per se, but I didn't think it was as bad as people made it out to be. Mm-hmm. And I do think that they've done a really good job of course correcting the faction. I think once they added Brody Lee to it. It kind of gave the group a bit more depth. Yeah. And I'm just a fan. The gimmick, their gimmick doesn't bother me at all. But I think what it is that I'm just such a big fan of the wrestlers involved, especially once they got Josh Silver and Alex Reynolds. Again, these are two guys that I've been following on the indies for years, and I was happy to see them be a part of the group. And I love how John Silver's just become like this kind of breakout star. Yeah, the guys, he's freaking awesome. Great personality, great in the ring. They included Anna Jay, who I think is a good fit to the group, and the whole Cole Cabana thing. Like I don't know, like I don't mind the Dark Order. I don't. I think they're slotted right where they need to be. They're in that mid card. With Brody Lee involved. Upper mid card part of the programming, and I dig them. What's your? I guess I'm assuming you have a different take.
Okay, so okay, initially, just like you were saying, I felt like them getting old. Okay, so I knew who they were. I seen their stuff on from PWG, and for me, it was like, oh, okay, so they changed them up a bit. Stu's not wearing a mask. Okay, cool. I can understand that, and they was already doing the vignettes about them. So I was like, okay, they're gonna come out. They're gonna attack somebody. I just don't know who. And for them to initially attack the biggest group in the company, and to where almost a year later, it's like the biggest accomplishment that they did was, take the championship from Cody for what, 2, 3 weeks? To me, the overall booking from 1 year to this, from a year standpoint, it kind of felt like it was a bit underwhelming. Like they never were really they never were really a threat, really, to the tag team division. I felt like they had their spots here and there, but the overall booking for me, because they had so many members until they, made a finite group, to where it was just like they didn't make them as dangerous as they could have been. They kind of turned their gimmick to from like a dark cult to now like a silly kind of cult, to where it's like, because to me it's like, it doesn't, on TV wise, it doesn't make sense how Colt Cabana doesn't realize that it's a cult and he's just with them. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Yeah,
to,
I do.
so I mean, I don't want to like change people's opinion. Like, I mean, I think that they can turn it around, but Brody has to show up. Some, like, where is he? Is he hurt? Like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah, I think Dave Meltzer. I think he had reported that Brody Lee has like an ankle injury. That's why he hasn't been on TV.
well, he could still be in, like, in a wheelchair, do a little wheelchair gimmick or something, like, like, I mean, he's supposed to be the leader. He's the exalted one. Like, I feel like when he showed up, he should have took that title, and Cody should have never got it back. Point blank. When Brody Lee shows up, he is the be all end all. He's the exalted one. He's the leader, and it should be a situation where the Dark Order shouldn't be goofy. Like, Silver shouldn't be goofy. Like, and don't get me wrong. Like, his character is flourishing. Like, he's definitely um a dark horse that definitely, like, shot up as far as eyes being seen,
Yeah,
as far as notoriety, and he is one of the top guys in the Dark Order, and that's a fact. But he's too goofy for a cult. Like, it's a cult. Like, I don't know, maybe I, and it's like, I never like to use the word realistic with wrestling. I really don't, because you're supposed to suspend reality when you watch it to get the
yeah,
best
but
enjoyment.
you can use realistic wrestling. I mean, for me, that's not a bad thing. I mean, because yes, you got to suspend your disbelief, but a lot of that has to do with presenting something that is realistic enough so that you can suspend your disbelief. So, I don't think that's a bad thing to bring into it. Probably not so much with the Dark Order though. But
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's the Dark Order. It's a cult. You got to be serious. Take the championships away. Everything. Okay, I'm not. I'm not. I don't want to bury the Dark Order. I like it. I just want them to be more. I want them to be more serious, and I feel like there's not really any dark characters anymore. Like, we could have, like, we got Orange Cassidy for, like, the silliness and things like that. And don't get me wrong, like, sprinkle a little bit of that with Silver. We don't need it every week, but I feel like the Dark Order should be that. Oh, wait a minute, this is the serious part of the show. Like, we have to worry about whoever they're facing, because they can get
yeah,
jumped, they can get taken out, they could become a part of the Dark Order. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. Um,
I think for me, because I think this shows the difference between how Vince McMahon's booking and Tony Khan is
mm,
that he really took all that criticism of last year's December show, the last one of that year.
mm,
He really took that to heart because, like, at that point, you could kind of see that maybe they had ideas of maybe pushing Dark Order in like a main event uh, type slot or position,
mm,
and they've since backpedaled from that. And now I'm usually in agreement with you about how I like, just as a rule of thumb,
mm.
I prefer my wrestling to be more serious,
Yeah.
to be taken more seriously, because I'm a big fan of New Japan, and I just love how they just present it as straight up sport.
Yes.
Although with you got your Toro Yano comedy, but it's still comedy within the confines of it being presented as a sport. So
Yes.
that is like my preferred. That being said, I don't mind a little bit of levity, a little bit of silliness.
Mm-hmm.
I would feel like had AEW been pushing the Dark Order still is like this main event level heel group, and they were acting, I guess, in the same way. I would probably be on your side of it, saying, look, if you're gonna be, like, it's hard for me to take you guys serious in the main event level if you're clowning around and you're.
Hello? Oh, I think I lost him. Hello? Hello? You just went out. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Sorry about that. Just went out.
Oh man, sorry, dude.
It's okay.
That I was trying to put over the Dark Order, and my computer was like, nope. But no, I do like them, and I just think, just as wrestlers, I think they're all great. Alan Angels 5, that Preston Vance guy 10. I enjoy them. I really do. But I understand where you're coming from. I do. I think just anecdotally, I think there are more people that feel about the Dark Order that are with you than maybe feel about them the way I do. So
Yeah.
I'm probably the minority viewpoint on that.
Well, I mean, that's understandable. I mean, just with me, I do see potential in them. I just want to see them. I want to see them flourish and not be considered as a secondary act behind Colt and behind Silver and behind Brody. Like I feel like it should be a thing where they're all equal, and Brody's bringing them up to his level, where Cabana's bringing them up to his level, to where they're equally seen as a threat, as opposed to just two members, and then the others are just heat guys. You can just beat them up, whatever the case is. But
yeah. Do you watch Dark at all? I know it's hard to catch.
Yes, I watch all the time. Absolutely.
Okay, all right. I wasn't know because some people I know people are busy. It's like an extra 2 hours.
Listen, I find time for everything, even if I'm like I work from home. So a lot of the times, even if I'm working, I will have it on and kind of try to do two things at once. So I still try to catch it. But the one wrestler I have to say that I need to see move up in the ranks, and this is in the women's division, is Abaddon. I gotta see, Abaddon is such a change in what I have ever seen in women's wrestling, because she really holds to that gimmick. And that's what I like. That right there, that type of character is something. And I'm not gonna go back to it, but I like to see her in the game. But I just feel like that is a great character because she sets herself apart from everybody else. Like the entrance, the maintaining the gimmick. You know what I'm saying? On TV, on social media at all times, like living the gimmick. And it's like that is so intriguing to me. It's like I think she's injured or something like that. So I'm hoping when she comes,
she is.
yeah, I'm hoping when she comes back that she really moves up the ranks. I would love to see her face off for the women's championship, because I mean, okay, that's another thing. Do you think, and a lot of people are saying this, you think the women's division is being booked properly, or you think there's definitely room for improvement?
There's room for improvement.
Okay.
No doubt. I'd be, I'm sure that even if you ask someone within, AEW, I'm sure they'd say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there's room for improvement. But I also think that I think the future is bright with them. I know that they have some unfortunate injuries at inopportune times. But the women that they have, I mean, with the signing of Serena, who I love Serena, she's great. She used to do mocap for the WWE games.
Oh.
Yeah, she's a friend. So I think having her in there, hopefully Thunder Rosa. I know she's on tonight's episode, but hopefully they can get her in the company. I know she's still with NWA. But I think the pieces are there to kind of course correct with that division, and I think they're doing it. I just think they're taking their time. I mean, they have 2 hours every Wednesday on Dynamite. And I know sometimes I think fans want to see more of the women featured, but at the same time, you've got 2 hours to work with.
Yeah.
And I think they do. I think they're doing the best job that they can, and I'm glad Britt Baker is back. I think she could be the anchor to that division just because of the strength of her personality.
Absolutely.
And I love Hikaru Shida, but I think putting the belt on Baker would be great.
Yes, I've been saying that.
Have a heel, a charismatic heel holding down that division, and just she's got so many women that can challenge her. I think that would be great. Like, I would really try to move that championship onto her.
Yes, because
she's great.
She is, and she even got her own show. You seen it you seen it on Dark?
No, so I wasn't able to watch Dark yesterday.
Okay.
I've got it up, booted on my computer right now. So
okay.
Next thing I'm doing once I get done with this.
Okay, you got to watch it. She got her own little show. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, the women, they just need more personalities, and I think she's a big one. But I think once they're able to, and also I think a big part of it too is that the women they don't get a chance to really, they don't get a lot of promo time, aside from Britt, who's really good at it. But I think just hearing more from the women, whether it's a backstage promo, an in-ring promo, or just like a video package, like a little like a personality package or a profile piece on some of the women, I think that goes a long way. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm very optimistic about that division moving forward, though.
Yeah, I mean, like watching AEW definitely gave me a renewed vision of women's wrestling. Now, I'm not sitting there and saying like WWE doesn't. It kind of does, but you see the same matches over and over again, more or less, in the same rivalries, which kind of gets old. But they have such a stacked roster of women wrestlers, which is crazy. But with AEW, I mean, like another one that I enjoy watching her matches is Chris Statlander. Like I enjoy like her character. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I feel like as far as character wise in AEW, they have a better batch of character women wrestlers than WWE. Like, you don't know what Mandy Rose character is. You don't know what Shayna Baszler character really is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get their character. They're just another wrestler. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bayley had a character, Sasha Banks had a character, but only the top tier have that. Through AEW, from top to bottom, you have characters, and it kind of reminds me almost of how the men in the Attitude Era were. That's what you have with the AEW women's division now. If you think about it.
I agree. I actually think, I mean, it's not just the women in AEW. I think it's the men too. I think everybody on that show, whether they get a lot of TV time or promo time, just in the ring, like, everybody is their own character, their own personality.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like you were talking about the women, I like how there are so many different body types.
Yep.
Everybody looks different.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Abaddon before, and I'm a big fan of hers too. I mean, the first time I saw her on Dark, I was taken aback, and I immediately started gathering footage for her, just in the hopes that she might get signed, that we can have. I have a folder started for her,
mm-hmm.
and she eventually did get signed. So I'm glad that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you, and I think so AEW, they do a really good job. Just like, yeah, everybody looks like Chris Statlander. Like, there isn't anybody else on that roster that looks or wrestles like her. And then you've got Nyla Rose, you've got Riho, who's this very tiny, petite, wrestler who can just fly with the best of them.
Yeah.
Hikaru Shida's, the Britt Bakers, like, there's Big Swole. Like, there are so many just different, like you said, personalities and characters, and they all come through.
Yes.
The way they wrestle, the way they speak, and I think it all just goes back to with AEW and Tony Khan, where it's like they're letting these wrestlers be who they want to be.
Yes.
They're not being told to slow it down or to cinch in a headlock or a chin lock and slow it down.
Right.
It's like they're letting them wrestle the way that they want to wrestle, and like, they have ownership over their characters, and I think that's the big thing that separates AEW from, like you said, and you're right, like in WWE, outside of the top stars of their division, the men and the women.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one on the underneath or in the middle ever gets any kind of character work.
Yes.
They're just very one note, one dimensional characters, and it's sad, especially with all the talent. I mean, WWE's got so much talent.
Yeah, and they'll sign them just because, just so another company can't get them. So it's like,
exactly.
Why you're taking away from their character? I mean, hey, listen, they get in the bag. I can't even be mad at them. They get paid, but it's just like, damn, like I would hope that if I was a professional wrestler and somebody wanted to sign me, they're signing me because of what I can produce in the ring, not just to take me away from someone else showcasing my skills. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's almost like, well, why did you sign me for a reason because of who I am, how I come across.
Or you would hope that.
Don't you want that on TV?
Yeah, exactly. Or at least that's what you would hope for, because the last thing you want is for them just to shelf you so you can't, take away their ratings working somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what they do nowadays. Like, I feel like that's really corny, and I think that there should be a union in that's a big thing, a union in wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you think that's a good thing? Because me personally, I feel like having a union in wrestling would definitely help the wrestlers if they get injured, if they need help, retirement, having that. You know what I'm saying? And job protection. I feel like if you're an independent contractor, independent contractors do not work in the world of wrestling. I don't think it does.
Well, I mean, it can't only, but if you're going to say that you're an independent contractor, then you have to treat them as independent contractors.
But they don't.
But they don't. Well,
yeah,
WWE they don't.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are wrestlers, and so for me, I always just want what's best for the talent, because they are the reason that the money is generated. Like they are, it's the talent. So yeah, like you, if a union can help them, whether they get with injuries, with having some sort of pension that they can have, or anything. Like I'm always, much like with sports, like I'm always going to take the side of the players, the talent, and I really want the best for them, because the management, the promotion, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I mean, I doubt that wrestlers ever unionize, just because I don't know. It just seems like because the guys on top, and I guess I'm specifically just referring to WWE, but the old adage, the thing that's always been, because Jesse Ventura tried to unionize back in the day.
Yeah.
WWE, WWF, but it's you got to get the guys on top to be a part of it, and the guys on top are making a lot of money, and it's asking a lot for them to sacrifice a little bit of that money to make sure that everyone beneath them is covered. Now, I think just being a good human being, like I like to think that if I was one of those top guys in a high position, like a John Cena, who was making, a couple $1 million a year from this wrestling thing, I would be more than happy to sign up and to help unionize, if that meant that the guys that are beneath me, the guys that were used to make me the star that I am, like that's one way of giving back. And it's like, I think taking care of each other. I mean, again, I'm not in that position, but I like to think that if I was, like, I would, sacrifice whatever money that I'm getting now, and just to help my fellow employees, because that's really what it boils down to. You know?
Like I feel that way too, and you know what, you came up with a good, like, that makes sense. Like the people that help, like you're helping the people that helped get you to where you're at. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people had to take the pen for you to be seen as a star, and you're giving back to those people. And you're not even only that, a retirement plan for the people who retire, or people who get injured and have to pay these huge medical bills, things like that. Like a union just isn't, we're going up against the man. No, we just expect to be treated. WWE wrestlers are employees of WWE. That's just a fact. Like, they can sit there and say independent contractors, but they're treated like employees. Like, they literally, like in AEW, they can go wrestle independent shows if they want to. WWE, you can't do that. You can't go, clearly we're seeing what's happening. You can't go on Twitch. You can't, God forbid you start an OnlyFans, it's over. Like you can't do anything to where other income is coming in. And that's where I feel like it's crazy because like with Austin Creed doing it, it's like, damn, is so all this money that you could be possibly making, you're handing it over to WWE, and you're an independent contractor, and they're taking that from what you're already making. Like what? Like I don't get that. Like that
Yeah,
doesn't make it's messed
it,
up.
it, it is messed up, and it kind of just comes down to just greed,
Yeah.
you know. And like you said, I mean, if they weren't considered independent contractors and they were doing this stuff, then of course it's like, well, you're an employee. It's like you can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that WWE has it is, it's like they want to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Where they're getting the benefits of classifying their talent as independent contractors, while at the same time now potentially by forcing these guys to close down, their social accounts, their Twitch streams, their cameos and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Now they want a piece of that money.
Yeah.
and then it goes against their downside.
Yeah.
So they're really, it's like, wow, that just comes across as cruel.
Yeah, it does. It's like you can't make no more money than what we're giving you, and that's it. And it's like, wow, you can't do no meet and greets really. You can't do no public appearances without their permission, and more than likely they'll say no. You're not doing any house shows. So even if you go online, we need that. Like, damn. Like you fired everybody and you still need more money? Okay, all right. So yeah, it's crazy. It's really
That's the
crazy.
thing. It's WWE. Like this is the most profitable they've been.
Yeah, because they fired everybody.
No, honestly, it's just because of those TV deals that they signed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. Like in the midst of a global pandemic, they're running shows. I mean, like everybody is, limited crowds, and they are still. They made more money this year than they've ever had in company history.
That's crazy.
And they laid off like how many? Like they're the only wrestling company to lay off employees and talent.
Yes.
Impact didn't let anybody go because of COVID. AEW, I think the only person that was released was Sadie Gibbs, and I think that was just more or less because he was stuck in the UK.
Yeah.
And they just kind of severed that contract. But MLW, they didn't release anybody. Ring of Honor,
nope, nobody.
They didn't release anybody.
New Japan ain't letting nobody go.
Giant, the one that generated more money than all those companies, they go talent and office personnel. It's just like in a pandemic. It's like, come on.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, you know what? The way I see it is like, that's why I'm so happy we have more than one option of wrestling that we could watch either on TV or online. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if it was just stuck with one, we would be miserable human beings when it comes to wrestling. For real.
Yeah. The thing about wrestling though is that there will never just be the one.
Well, we almost had that. We almost had that. When WCW and ECW went on under, I mean, there wasn't really no internet, so it was just like, unless
that is true. Yeah.
Unless you knew the tape trading, and mind you, in 2001, I was barely a teenager, so it was just like, I guess I'll just watch WWE. That's it. Okay. So I guess a lot of wrestling fans don't remember those times, but yes, guys, we almost had just one wrestling company to watch on TV. That's it. Or
you're right. Yeah. That was that time where once the buyout happened, it was just
that was
WWE,
it.
WWF.
Yep, that was it. So we should be happy regardless of what's on. We can like it, dislike it, but we have options, guys. And also, thanks to Bryan Williams, we also have more options when it comes to wrestling video games. So definitely give a shout out to him for that one, man. I listen. I'm happy that I was able to get your time. I definitely am. I appreciate it. Hopefully down the line when you're able to give out some more information, we could definitely do this again. I definitely appreciate it. I really do. So I want to give you a shout out on that. And guys, if you haven't already, definitely subscribe. I'm going to have more content like this. I always want to interview game developers, especially for wrestling games. Y'all know me. I'm crazy. So definitely subscribe. Turn on your notifications because, this is what I do. But once again, thank you, Bryan. I definitely appreciate you coming on the show. This, the first returning guest. You're the first.
I am.
Yeah, you're the first 2-time
Oh
guest.
wow. Oh brother, I'm honored, man.
So I
I am
definitely.
honored. And I just want to, thank you for having me on. And no, of course, like as soon as, like I said, we're just at the start of this wild ride of getting this game created. So, if you'll have me a third time, I would gladly come back.
Listen, yes. You are on here early.
Yeah, anytime you need me, brother.
All right, man. I appreciate it. But once again, guys, subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video because I don't know why other YouTubers say it, so I'm just gonna say it too. So okay, catch you guys on the next video.
Oh wait, can I give a couple of things? A little
You
shout
know
out
what?
to.
I completely forgot about that. You right. I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, no. Just real quick, I just want to say,
Yep.
just thanks everybody out there for the support, and we're going to do our best to create a dope wrestling game, the alternative wrestling game from the other one that's out there. And so, so you can, obviously you can follow me. I'm on Twitter at TrueBWill, TruBWill.
Link in the description below.
Okay. Oh, sweet. And also give a follow to AEW Games. They're on Twitter and they have a channel on YouTube for more information about the upcoming project. And I just learned yesterday that we are going to, when I say we, Ukes, we're going to be creating a official Ukes Twitter account specifically for the AEW game. So once that is up and running, I will send out a tweet on my Twitter feed letting people know about that so they can follow that for more information as well.
Exclusive.
So exclusive. Yeah, that's right. You heard it here first. So Dre, man, thank you, man. I really appreciate, speaking to you. I always love chopping it up with you about wrestling, about games, about life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
definitely. I appreciate it, man. Once again, guys, thank you guys for listening. Catch you guys on the next episode. Later.